All right. Hello, tea family, and welcome back to our Sunday Live. I do want to say tonight we're going to be tackling a very big question that many loose leaf tea drinkers think they know the answer to. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we are going to be talking about it here. But first, I want you to say hello, and I would love you to tell me what you're drinking in your cup tonight. Handy dandy assistant, what are you drinking? He's having a chocolate chip cookie. Sorry, Kevin. If you're watching on the replay, he ate all the cookies. That's it. So, but please share what you're drinking and let us know you're there so we can say hello. And I have some really big announcements later on at the end of the live. So hang with us. Keep in mind that we are going to be making a very big announcement. So we don't want you to miss that. That will be at the end. Let's see. Stephanie's here and she's enjoying an iced coffee tonight and using her favorite teapot. And I'm using your favorite teapot. I love that. I love that, Stephanie. Yes, I did pick this one. Although I have to say, I'm in a green top now, and I was looking and I was like, oh, I wanted to use my blue cup, and I really love this teapot. I haven't used it in a while. And then I was like, I should have been in blue. I've got all this blue right here. I should have been in blue. I was earlier, but not right now. Okay, so we are going to get started, and we're talking today about this question that many loose leaf tea drinkers may know about, but may not know about. And that is the difference between brewing in a teapot, then brewing in, oh my goodness, everything's going crazy, in a mug. Oh, not good at all. Because they are different and they will create different things. They will create different flavors, believe it or not. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. There we go. All right. I wanted to talk about brewing in a teapot versus brewing in a cup because the differences really are bigger than you think. So I see my handy dandy assistant said hello to Kim. So hello to Kim. Oh, Kim's having all hail Kansas tonight. All right. Give us your honest thought. Are you enjoying it? How's the color looking? Is it purple? Is it purple? It should be. Every time we brewed it, it is. But let me know what you think. Awesome. All right. She broke it. All right. Well, we're talking about the differences between brewing in a teapot and a brewing in a cup, and they are bigger than you think. So before we jump in fully, tell me, do you usually brew in a pot or a cup, and why? And I am going to try this. Diane is here and she's having a hot Starlight pear. I love it. I love it. Okay. We're going to start a poll because they let me do that now. And so you all should see on there, you should be able to answer in the chat or the comments or however it pops up for you. First of all, if it doesn't pop up, please let me know in the comments. But do you brew your tea most often in a cup? In a teapot? Both, but mostly a cup, both, but mostly a teapot. Let me know. I'm interested to hear your answers. I have to say, for me personally, I most of the time will brew in a cup because I am going to go through all three brews really, that day. First of all, most of the time I'm going through them that day. And I typically will do a pot if Rich is going to join me in a tea, or if I have somebody else over, because they're bigger and that's way more tea than I would normally drink. Now, sometimes I do want to brew in a pot, and that's because it might be a day that I'm having an extra long day. And if it is an extra long day, I might want that added caffeine. So I might brew in a pot, or sometimes I just get the notion. And then sometimes it'll take me 2 days to finish all the tea in a pot. So there are some comments. All right. So has everybody voted in the poll? Let me look at the comments. Okay. Let's see. Diane is jealous. She has to wait for snail mail. Yes. Yours is going out first thing tomorrow, Diane, though, so it won't take that long. Let's see. Kim says she's almost always brewing in a cup. But look at this, 100% both, but mostly a cup. Let's see.
Very beautiful.
Yay! I'm so very beautiful, perfect, very good. I'm glad you like it. That's the big thing is we try to get the color and the taste. Let's see. The pot goes cold too fast. That is something that we are going to talk about. Diana's in a mug. Option 3 for Stephanie. I'm sorry, but it'll be worth the wait, Kim says to Diane. Awesome. All right, so let me go back here. I like having this. All right, stop the poll. And we're gonna hide it. And then I'm gonna go back to comments. But I like the fact that I can do the poll questions this way now, rather than like sometimes in the chat and the comments, they get lost a little bit. So that's cool. I am glad that you are enjoying that All Hail Kansas blend. I know that I got a text earlier saying that someone in your household, Kim, was smelling the sweet tanzanite and enjoying the aroma. So we'll see how that one goes. Yes. So, but for me, yes, most of the time I'm in a cup, but then I do use the pot as well. So when you brew in a pot, the temperature typically, depending on the type of pot, stay tuned for part 2 next week, because we are going to be taking our part 2 to this. The temperature will, if you have charged your pot, your temperature will drop slower. So the leaves will actually have more time to extract. This is going to give you a deeper flavor and aroma. And that is one of the reasons why you go with the pot. But there is a way to match the pot to the tea. Again, tune back next week. More on that. We're going for our part 2. Now, if you are in a cup, like this one. I know I have a top on it, but that's because I'm going to brew in both for a second. The water actually cools faster because it's not as protected on the top. This is going to change that extraction, but this can be in a good way. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes this is why it might taste a little thinner, but other ways it might taste even better. Okay. Kim says she just finished the Kansas and she's now moving to caffeine-free sweet tanzanite. It does smell like a fruit punch. It does, and it is a very sweet tanzanite is a sweeter tea. I don't want to say sweet tea because that has a different connotation, but it is a sweeter tea because there's a lot more freeze-dried fruit in it. But let me know what you think. I liked it. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed them. But so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna actually pour and start our timer. Now for this, I am using, there we go, Serene Sunrise. I was actually going to hold this one till the, because I've been doing a different tea blend each week. I was going to hold this one to the one right before my birthday, but I couldn't resist. I had to do it today. So this is what we look like. This is our Serene Sunrise. It is kind of a traditional breakfast blend, meets a little bit of cinnamon to smooth out the flavor. Not so much a cinnamon tea. Now I did pre-measure this. This is just the right amount to put in the cup, which is why I did that. All right, black tea, first time brewing. So 3 minutes for the first brew. It can be brewed 3 times. I am going to do the pot first. And I'm definitely going to have tea left over for tomorrow morning and probably tomorrow afternoon. I don't know that I'll be making tea tomorrow, other than I will be reheating tea. And that's something else we will talk about next week, is reheating your tea. So could I have 3 minutes on the clock, please? All right, perfect. So one of the things that you'll find is often with a green tea that's in a pot, the taste, the flavor will be a little bit smoother and rounder. But black tea in a cup actually will have a brighter kind of, how do I put this, sharper flavor, so it brings it out. Typical herbals in a teapot, they're going to have a fuller, almost, I don't know, lack of a better word, more comforting flavor. So feel free to comment what you think is going to be stronger tonight. Which tea do you think is going to have a deeper, stronger flavor? Now, we're not talking about bolder. We're not talking about overbrewed, bitter end of things. We're talking like just a more filled out flavor. So in the chatter comments, which one, the one that it's the same tea that I'm brewing in the cup and the teapot, which one do you think, let me put this on here, which one do you think is going to have that fuller flavor tonight? Let me know. And then if you want bonus points, it's not worth anything tonight. No giveaways today, sorry. But why you think that that one is going to give more flavor. So I'm going to give you a second. Okay, Kim has a question. Does the material of the pot make a difference? Like ceramic versus plastic versus metal versus iron? Absolutely. And that is something that we are going to be talking about next week. But yes, it really does make a difference overall. Diane says the teapot is going to have the more kind of complex, deeper flavor. That's her guess for tonight. Let's see. I guess I could have done ceramic to ceramic. The problem is when you have teapots and you're like, oh, I haven't used that one in a while. I want to use that teapot. That's what happened to me tonight. Let's see. Handy Dandy Assistant says the cup. He says the smaller batch flavor. Kim says the pot. The lid keeps it contained more. Stephanie says it's the pot. Well, those of you who chose the pot for the black tea, you are absolutely right. The reason is leaf movement. So even though we get big infusers, strainers, tea bags, etc., so that the tea can move, literally there's way more room for that tea to move, and that leaf movement really helps the teas get space to expand and dance, if you want to think of it that way, but they move around and unfurl, and that movement really releases the deeper complexity. Okay, so let's see. In the cup, the leaves are going to stay more confined, but this is why we don't like tea balls, because it really doesn't allow the teas to unfurl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out in the same order that I put them in. Because one of the things I wanted to look at with you was there a difference in color? So now this is going to get put aside. Nobody contact the US FDA, Food and Drug Administration, and yell at me for how long I'm going to leave that one out. You see this color right here. Now this is harder to tell because it's got a ceramic lining to my cast iron. So I am going to pour it in this. Okay. More water would make a difference. See, Diane, you are right. More water does make a difference. But look at the difference in color. That, I used the exact ratio, the 2.5 grams of tea to the 6 ounces. And I did it to the same 6 ounces here. But the cast iron and everything, actually, you can see that there's a difference in color. Now, I am going to put this aside. I do love that teapot too, Stephanie. I have to let these cool for a second, but in a cup, it's not unusual for there to be a darker flavor than the ceramic lining of one of a teapot, but we're going to talk more about that again. More water makes a difference. Okay. So think of it this way. A pot is kind of like a music symphony, whereas a cup is like a solo during the symphony. The pot allows more complex flavors to brew and to unfurl, whereas you're still getting an incredible performance from your single cup, but it's just not going to have the same complexity as when you listen to the whole symphony. That makes sense. I'm trying to use little analogies that make sense in our brains. All right, so I'm going to start with the cup first. Okay, well, I mean, it's serene sunrise, so you kind of can't go wrong. Very nice, very traditional, delicious flavor. Okay. I can it is not a huge difference, but there is a little bit difference. This one has robust isn't the word I want. A deeper flavor. I can taste more of the notes of the cinnamon in the tea. Handy dandy assistant, you want to try the difference? He can't tell. He's like, I can't tell. He's had allergies for a really long time this year. But that's one of those things that it's a very slight thing. Now, a lot of other things can affect it. The temperature of the water. You saw I poured them both at the same time. It's the same batch of tea that was created at the same time. I always want to make sure, I tried to make my science experiment as scientifically accurate as possible. But think of it, you know, it's just a little bit different, a little more complex flavor. And I deliberately chose this. What is this magic? It's not magic. It's science. It's science. But so one of the things that you may not realize, I don't talk about this a lot. I talk about how we test blends and we brew them hot and we brew them cold. But one of the things that we'll also do is we will often brew them in a small teapot as well as in a cup, just to make sure, because sometimes you can't pick up the nuances in one, but you can pick them up in the pot. Some blends just are designed to bloom better in a cup, in the pot, and others they really do better in the single cup. So one of the ones that really surprised me was Ancient Green Dragon. The vanilla jasmine green tea really tastes a little bit better when it comes from a cup for whatever reason. And all the science and all the facts will tell you it should have brewed better in a glass or ceramic teapot, but it didn't. I like the flavor better. I taste more of the nuances in the cup. So it was completely surprising to me because it actually broke the protocol. So you'll have to kind of, just because science says it should work a certain way doesn't mean that science is always correct. So they both are very round, full, layered flavors. They're very much delicious. I mean, and it really is going to take a nuance. I wouldn't be surprised someone with allergies isn't going to necessarily even notice the difference, or someone that's really doesn't have somebody whose sense of taste and smell has been affected by COVID may not taste it as much as well. So the best teas kind of in a pot are typically going to be your black teas, green teas that are more delicate, your oolongs, herbals needing full extraction, those kind of things. Teas basically with kind of chunky botanicals or large leaves, things like that. In a cup, breakfast teas do extremely well. High energy black teas. Now I know I just talked about black teas in the pot, but really more when we move into morning Irish, it's actually going to be more robust in the cup. Any of your chais, Stephanie, you want to brew in a cup more often than you brew in the pot, because the strong spices in a chai blend are going to come out and intensify a little bit more in the cup. Teas that you want that sharp, bright, punchy flavor for, cup is great. I know there are some that say like the blend tastes completely different from when brewing from the cup to the pot, but I have not found that to be the case unless we're talking about a clay pot, which has only had one brew in it, because that flavor gets really complex because the oils from the tea leaves get left behind in it over a period of time, making it more complex. So does the muslin bag affect the flavor of the tea? I still have a few of the ghost bags and haven't used the muslin bag yet. Okay. That is an awesome question. It will be like the difference between a cup and a pot when you use the muslin bags. The ones that we are using, we went with 100% cotton, unbleached, so to speak, so it doesn't have anything else to interfere with it. So it is not going to necessarily change the flavor other than it's a tea bag. So it's like a teacup. It's going to be a little bit more restrictive than a larger pot where it can spread out a little bit more, but it won't have a negative impact on it. That's one of the reasons why we were so fussy about them and why I'm excited about them now. Anything that limits, that's why they're also bigger, so that the tea leaves can fully expand in the teacup, but it's still limited by the amount in the teacup. And if you don't, that's absolutely great. Thank you for pointing that out. If you don't wash it out, so if you have one tea bag and one muslin tea bag and you're always using it for, say, morning Irish, or you're only using it for one flavor of tea predominantly, that is going, if you don't wash it really well with your dish soap, it could leave some of that complex residual flavor in it, but that's up to you to wash it really well. I do not suggest putting those in the washing machine with your other laundry, because there is, that's just, there's something about the fact that even though it's been rinsed out, I feel like there's residual soap on it, but it's probably, or fabric softener or your dryer sheet or stuff. That's just probably what's in my head. There's no scientific basis that I know of. I don't know if it affects it. For me, I'm using hand soap, or not hand soap, dish soap, push it inside out, drop all the leaves out, wash it with the dish soap, rinse it really, really well until I'm not getting any more soap, and then just let it dry flat. The idea is that you're trying to do that. But if you have a really strong dish soap fragrance, you may want to think about getting one that's kind of unscented. I know there are a lot of soap vendors like Wildflower Wish that do unscented dish soap that's solid. And that's typically what we would use on ours, is that unscented one. We have the regular one, but we have an unscented one just because I don't want to add fragrance to my tea bag. And it's just pure soap that way. And then Stephanie says she may try her next brew in a smaller teapot. I say go for it. Try it in a smaller teapot, or do the same experiment that I did and see if you can taste the flavor difference. And like, have some fun with science in your house and exploring it. But especially if you love that chai flavor, which I know you all do, which you do, and it should intensify that experience when you want it to be. This is why we say in the cup, because you do want it to be the tea infuser or the cup or the tea bag to be big enough for the leaves to unfurl. It's just a smaller area. Okay. And Stephanie said she just rinsed and laid her flat to dry. It never occurred to me to use soap. And that's fine. You're going from tea to tea. It just means, like a clay teapot that has been unglazed, that's going to pick up some of those tea oils. If you're only using it for chai, then it will eventually take on some of the oils from the chai. If you're only using it for breakfast roast, then that's it. And if you used it for the wrong one, you may get a hint of chai in your breakfast roast, or vice versa otherwise. Stephanie's like, I will never go back to a small infuser. Yeah, I get it. Those tiny, and people love them. And then the ones they tell us about now at the events are the spoons where the tea goes inside, but it's still a really tiny area for the tea leaves to expand. And we're all about get your full flavor out of your teas. So that's why I think Stephanie's got the right idea. If you ever want to help figuring out whether your favorite blend blooms better in a pot or a cup, try it at home or message me and I will try it. We can try it on a live, because we always want you to have the best possible flavor and how you like it. Now, you might like that softer tone. It might be, you might want it not as complex because of what you're doing with it. That's a personal preference. And so I do want to say a couple of announcements that we have. One of them is that as of the start of the live, we have officially ended our tea and treasures. live sale. I want to thank you, and thank you for those that got their orders in today. I will be sending out invoices and shipping those out on Tuesday. Invoices will go out tomorrow. Shipping go out on Tuesday. Then I wanted to say the next time. Oh, before I forget, next time you brew, try the test yourself. You might find a way to enjoy your tea even more. But okay, I said this at the beginning of the live, and not everybody was here, and I get that because once it goes live, you wait for the notifications to come out and everything. But we are making a major change to our lives. I had to pause and drink tea for that major dramatic effect. You like that? No. Starting next week, we are going to be moving our lives off of Sunday night, and we are going to be moving them to Monday nights. Our intent is to permanently move to Monday nights. It'll be the same time, but this way we don't conflict with like Easter Sunday and Mother's Day and other Sunday holidays. The other thing is it's really challenging. Balancing a whole bunch of commitments, and we have another commitment that is really even more important than the business is to us, and we want to prioritize that for Sunday nights, and it's potentially for the next like 6 to 8 weeks, but we wanted to make a permanent change rather than move and then move back and move back. The other thing is when we were thinking about it and talking about moving it for this commitment, we were looking at the fact that a lot of times when we do our 2-day events, we literally rush. We do what we do, what do we call it? The throw and go. Thank you. I couldn't think of the words. We do a throw and go where we literally almost, other than the china or anything breakable, we throw everything off the tables into just our Tupperware buckets, the big carrying buckets that seal. So our teas get all mixed up and different things like that because we're trying to get out so fast and then get back to wherever we are so that I can go and get set up for the live and everything like that. So I have to say that when we looked at, after we had made the decision to move it anyway, and then we started to think, yeah, that would make Sundays a lot easier. So we're not always behind the 8 ball with everything that goes on. So we will be moving to Mondays. It will be the same time, but what I am going to do is trying to keep them to 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. Sometimes we've gone over when you guys all have had great questions, but because I want to be mindful of the fact that it is a weeknight and everybody still has to get up, we're going to really try and keep them to about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes in length. So Monday nights, it's looking like it'll be the same time, 6 p.m. Central Time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But I wanted to, we are going to start next Monday. So we will not have our live on. Oh, I need to change that. I already set it up in the system, so I will have to change that one. But not going to meet on Mother's Day so we won't be meeting on Mother's Day or anything, or Easter Sundays or any of those Sundays. We'll start next Monday, which is the 27th. We'll be on Bubba McGee's birthday. So Monday sounds better. That's great. I'm glad Monday's better for you, Diane. We are going to have, since we're starting it on Bubba's birthday, we are going to have Ancient Green Dragon to drink because that's his favorite. So, or he's actually convinced us to, we had him do some computer work for us. Sure. And the exchange was I would create a tea. So I might create his tea live next week. Oh no, I won't, because I already have a plan for this. But we made an agreement. But I'll brew Ancient Green Dragon next week in his honor for his birthday. So that is our big announcement. That is the one thing I want everybody to be aware of. Starting next Monday, April 27th, we're moving our lives to Monday. Anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns, anything else they want to share? I'm going to take a sip of tea. Same hat time, same hat channel, really? Really? Stephanie, yep, new teas are always fun. He is really not interested in the tea, other than he said, "Mom, I'm just a black tea of some sort." But he's really, really determined on what the name is going to be. Basically, he wanted to name a tea more than anything. So, thank you, Katie. I'm glad you like our teapot. It is one of my favorites. I was telling Stephanie earlier. I think it should be. I should have worn blue today. I wore blue earlier, but I should have stayed in blue today because everything is blue. But all right, everybody. I will see you next Monday. I hope you all have a fabulous week, and we'll see you later. Have a good one, everybody.